Alrighty, hello everybody, good morning. We're playing Blue Tron today. The last list I saw that 5-0'd is like 2 weeks old, and it's this one. I didn't have two chalices for the side, so I put Aetherize and Echoing Truth in. I do have two chalices, this deck technically runs 4. I was basically just looking for an excuse to buy a Cavern of Souls, so I had one for some other stuff that I'm thinking about doing. But yeah, we're going to try this out, and we're going to see how it works. Hopefully it goes well. I am not particularly skilled with Blue Tron, as I have not played it a lot since college, which was 5.5 years ago? 6 years ago? So we'll see how this goes. Hopefully this is not another Storm situation. I mean, I've played it. I played a version of Blue Tron actually on the channel before, but I haven't played it regularly for a very, very long time. And the deck has changed significantly since I last played it. As somebody brought up in the comments on my YouTube channel, the deck used to win with like 14 mana plus Academy Ruins and Mindslaver, where you just take control of your opponents every single turn, guaranteeing that you would win eventually. I'll play first. I have 2 repeals and a relic. I'm actually going to keep this. I wish I had like a Remand or a Condescend. I think if one of the repeals was one of those, this would be a pretty good hand. We'll start Power Plant Relic, just in case this is Dredge. Okay. Opponent starts with a Birds of Paradise. Draw Gemstone Caverns. I don't know if I want to make my opponent recast that, or if I want to just shoot it now. I think making them recast it is more fun, plus drawing through our deck might actually be pretty good here. So, if my opponent's the Devoted Druid deck, we're definitely putting Chalice on 2. Multiple mana dorks, I see. Draw an Eldrazi Temple. Let me think. See, if I knew what my opponent was playing, I could make an intelligent choice about what to put Chalice on. Right now it seems like 1, but I'm really thinking that it's probably better to put it on 2. Let me just take a quick scan of meta decks that run Noble Hierarch. Yeah, this is definitely Devoted Devastation. And with that being the case, I think what I'm gonna do, play Academy Ruins and repeal Noble Hierarch. Okay. Pass the turn. Next turn, we can potentially put Walking Ballista onto, or we can put Chalice onto. Charming Prince. There have been no 5-0 finishes with this card. It still looks like maybe like Flicker or Devoted Devastation, that sort of thing. Draw a Remand. Opponent has 5 cards. They put 2 cards to the bottom. I think we play Walking Ballista and just Sorcery Speed ping both dorks. Next turn we can play Thought-Knot Seer and hold up Remand, which is going to be really powerful. But taking my opponent off of 2 mana seems really good here. Okay, pass the turn. Opponent plays a Charming Prince. Scrying some more. I mean, I could also take a look at their hand and potentially, like if I determine that Chalice on 1's the way to go, that might be good. Okay, Wormcoil Engine's kind of nice. Let's go ahead and Thought-Knot. Take a look at what's going on over there. Oh! Oh, I get it now. I see, I see. Alright, well, Chalice on 2, definitely the way to go. And I'm gonna take Collected Company? Yeah, we're gonna take Collected Company. I know my opponent's a ways off of casting that, but like, at the same time, I think this is probably what we should be doing. Opponent definitely scryed lands to the top like 100%. Okay, opponent plays Heliod, we remand. Draw an Urza's Mine. Exile a card from our opponent's grave. No attacks for our opponent. We draw Karn, Great Creator. Well, at this point, We probably just play Karn, right? Go ahead and wish. And we'll get liquid metal coating. Play coating. Pass the turn. No attacks. On my opponent's turn, we'll shut off Horizon Canopy. So we're going to start blowing up lands and playing a Worm Coil. Seems pretty good. When it cracks Windswept Teeth, which is definitely the card they drew this turn. They shock, probably to play Heliod. Yeah. Generally when people start getting denied mana, they want to cast their most expensive spells, out of kind of fear that they won't get to. And Heliod is a pretty strong card. They do have a good follow-up in the form of, like, Ariok Champion, to start gaining life and putting counters on stuff. Block down a Charming Prince. Opponent takes Karn to 1. So exile a card out of their grave. Untap. We draw an island. Play an island. Yeah, we're going to blow up Horizon Canopy. And I'm just going to put Chalice on 2. That should help. I can actually Academy Ruins Ballista to the top of my deck, which also seems amazing. No attacks, so we can protect Karn. We just shut off our opponent's almost entire hand. They have one unknown card. It's a Horizon Canopy, which they have to crack to draw, because they have nothing else they can play. I don't even think I want to draw Walking Ballista at this point. I think I'm just going to exile Relic and draw a card. Yeah, Remand doesn't do anything. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If I had one more mana, I might wish for Sundering Titan. Alright, opponent concedes. So versus the infinite combo, I don't know what you would even call this deck. Heliod combo, I guess? Spreading Seas is, like, okay, but at the same time, my opponent is, like Remand and Condescend and Repeal are going to be good against my opponent, unless they have Cavern. I think I'm just going to bring in an Aetherize to be a little bit trolly. And what is our worst spell against them? Probably a Relic. Now, they could have things like Renegade Rallier, or other things that use the Grave. We didn't see any, though. At least none that mattered. So I think I'm fine going down Relic. I think sideboarding is definitely my worst skill in terms of playing Magic. I tend to either really over sideboard or completely under sideboard. And that last game of Tron versus, what's it called? Tron versus Spirits, where I didn't even bring in my naturalize effects for Damping Sphere. I just tend to make outright mistakes sometimes. But, like, yeah, I don't know. I need to get better at it. This hand does not do a lot. It's a turn 3 Thought Knot, followed up by maybe a Karn. Yeah, I'll try it. Opponent plays a Windswept Teeth, cracks it. Temple Garden, Mana Dork. Yep. Okay. Players is mine. Play Expedition Map. Pass the turn. But it's hard for me to tell what cards are effective against what decks sometimes. Especially because I've played Modern for so long that, like, some of the cards that used to be good against certain decks no longer are. And that really throws me for a loop sometimes. Well, if we can get Karn down, we don't die to any infinite combos because of they can't activate Walking Ballista, but they can still beat us down from that position. We're going to go ahead and get an Eldrazi Temple, just so we can cast our interaction here. Play Thought Knot. Take a look at our opponent's hand. A second Heliod. Well, we'll take it. Pass the turn. Opponent plays Horizon Canopy, one unknown in hand. Did they just top deck the combo? Unfreaking believable. Are you kidding me? With, like, disgusting. I mean, Condescend wouldn't have done it, because they would have had more than 2 mana untapped. They actually had enough mana to pay for Condescend, and then combo off. Alright, we'll play first. No adjustments in the sideboard. We'll keep this, I guess. We don't really need Tron. For a very, very long time now, Mono Blue Tron has actually not needed to assemble Tron. Generally it wins super hard when it does, but the way Mono Blue Tron has worked is like you try and play it like you play a tempo deck, where it's like, oh yeah, no, I'm making my land drops, I'm disrupting my opponent, and then like I just play like a bomb way ahead of curve and protect it with counter spells. So it's kind of similar to a tempo deck. You don't try and play it like a control deck where you want to stall out the game for a million billion years. I think Repeal is better here. Alright, well we're going to get to Tron this game, which is going to be sweet. Okay, opponent plays Horizon Canopy, has to replay a Dork. Plays a second Dork. Draw another Repeal. Okay, players is mine, leave up Condescend. Condescend less good when your opponent has this many mana dorks. But if my opponent casts anything that like we can't Condescend, we'll just Repeal this turn. Yeah, okay. Walking Ballista X1. Now that one I will Condescend. I don't even want that to hit the board. If we could scry into an Ugin, that'd be amazing. Thought-Knot Seer seems pretty nice. My opponent doesn't have a lot of cards in hand. We'll have 8 mana, so we can actually Karn, Wish for Liquid Metal Coating, and then protect him with Condescend Repeal. No, we can't, because we'll have to tap too much mana to do that. I think I want Thought-Knot Seer this turn. I think playing Thought-Knot Seer with Repeal backup is actually slightly better than Karn. No, I have Walking Ballista. What am I saying? Ugh, jeez. Sorry to be so wishy-washy about this. So, play Tower. Play Karn. I could also just, like, get a Trinisphere and my opponent would be sad. Get a Walking Ballista. Ping this, so no Exalted. Ping this to get rid of it. They can attack Karn down to 1. Unless they have another Noble Hierarch or a Walking Ballista, they shouldn't be able to kill him this turn. Even with a land drop. And if they can't kill him, it's really bad for them. If they can kill him, we're just going to play Emrakul. This is not really a bad place to be. Walking Ballista X1 that they cannot activate. Nice. Another Karn. So play Eldrazi Temple. Play... actually, yeah, we'll Repeal this. Costs us nothing, basically. What am I doing? Like this. Thought-Knot Seer. Take a look at our opponent's hand. They have Skyclave Apparition and double Night of Autumn. Well, we definitely have to take the Apparition. Yeah, let's go ahead and play the new Karn. A Wish. I think Sundering Titan is in order. We have to get rid of our only blue mana to cast it, but I'm also not particularly sad about that. Next turn, we actually have access to Emrakul the Promised End, because we have 9 mana. Which I'm very interested in casting. For a number of reasons. So, play Emrakul, mind control our opponent, and the game's over. We were going to sack a land, attack everything into our creatures, and then our opponent just like was in a position that they could not win from. Awesome! So, I mean, that's kind of how we drew it up, except for the game loss there in the middle. Alright, round 2, here we go. I hope I can get this video out in time. I have a lot of crap I have to do today. I mean, okay, yeah, I'll take a turn 3 Tron hand. This is really bad if my opponent's playing black. Alright, luckily, they did not have a Thoughtseize effect, so we'll start land map, pass the turn. Alright, our opponent is Jundorian? Abzan Yorian, maybe? 4-color Yorian? 4-color Yorion with Ren and 6. You got it. Alright, well, play a tower. Pass the turn. Opponent plays a Pillar of the Parents. Okay, so this is like Niv to Light Yorion, I guess. Opponent plays a Teferi Time Raveler. Ticks up Teferi. Returns a non-existent land to their hand. Okay, so we'll get mine. Untap. Draw an island. Play mine. View sideboard here real quick. I think liquid metal coating is the way to go. Next turn we want to resolve Ugin. So we'll go ahead and get liquid metal coating, and on our opponent's turn we're gonna shut off Teferi on their upkeep. I want to make them try and spend their mana, and I think turning off Teferi is the best way to do it. It also denies them a draw, but this way they can't bounce coating and can't draw an additional card. They have Lightning Helix. Okay. I was kind of worried about that, but at the same time, there's not a lot I can do about it. Okay, we don't want to see a blue source unless they're tapping out for like a Tarmogoyf. Or it's tapped. I'm fine with a tapped blue source. They pick up Wooded Foothills. They bounce liquid metal coating, that's fine. We don't need it. Draw another tower, so play the tower. Play one Spirit Dragon-y boy. -3. Game's over. Nice. Alright, so versus the 4 or 5 color deck, I think I want Spreading Seas. Opponent says, just tell me you're green Tron. I'll scoop the match. But that would be lying. I mean, I could just say I am Tron. Sometimes E-Tron has one random 8-mana Ugin. I said, well, I'm not E-Tron. That's not lying. I'm Okay, alright, let the video evidence show. I did not lie. My opponent really didn't want to play against controlling Tron, but I didn't lie to them. I just didn't tell them what they wanted to know. So, that feels kind of scumbaggy to me. Sorry for... alright, well... apparently they just can't beat Ugin. So, note to the green Tron players out there watching this video. Ugin, real hot right now. Let me just tell you, Ugin is super, super great. Alright, yeah. Condescend into a Thought-Knot Seer. I hope is powerful enough to slow my opponent down for me to draw something else. The Leyline of Sanctity. Well, Thought-Knot Seer is way worse now. Thought-Knot Seer is now an undercosted beater that when it dies, my opponent... Oh no, my opponent does not draw a card because it targets. That trigger targets. Okay, so it looks like we're against Belcher. Well, we happen to know that Grave Hate is really good against them, and so is Karn. So, opponent plays a Talisman of Resilience, and we're going to go ahead and Condescend. If they have a Simian Spirit Guide, they can actually pay for this. They do. Okay. That's fine, we still get to Scry, because Condescend's a great spell. I kind of like Remand here. I don't actually think we need the Power Plant. Okay. Play an island, pass the turn. Opponent plays an Undercity Informer. I'm going to go ahead and Condescend. My opponent would have to have 2 Simian Spirit Guides to get through this, and this would give us a chance to draw Dismember if they did. Alright. Definitely keeping Relic. Play an island. Play Relic. Oh. That's right, I can't target them. Well, that's okay. We only need to nuke the grave if they end up milling themselves. So we'll be disciplined. Vengevine. I don't think Vengevine actually matters, but if this is their backup game plan of like having to use that to kill us, I'm fine with that. Okay, Urza's Mine is nice. Power Plant's also kind of good. Play Thought-Knot. If my opponent plays a Vengevine, I'm and attacks, then I'll just attack them back. Okay, opponent concedes. Cool. So we know what they are. So if my opponent is playing Charbelcher, the best thing that we can do for the modern Oops All Spells deck, my opponent really only casts spells that are like CMC 3 or more. I mean, they have a lot of stuff on 2. Aetherize might be fun, and so will Echoing Truth. Like, both of those things are pretty great. If my opponent is playing Ley Lines, do we have any extra Grave Hate in the side? I might just want the 4th Relic in the deck. It's kind of tough, actually. I'm going to cut a Worm Coil Engine and a Thought Knots here. I think we win by making their combo untenable rather than beating them down. Like, the only reason Thought Knots here was bad there is because my opponent had Leyline. And if they decide that, like, oh my gosh, my opponent's playing Thought Knot and I have to mulligan to Leyline, we're fine. Well, I mean, if we draw blue mana, this hand goes from, like, great to excellent. So I'm going to keep... I doubt I need Academy Ruins, so I'm going to put Academy Ruins back. My opponent mulligan to 6, and they either F6'd through their first turn, or they have nothing. Was that a misclick? They kept a hand with no land. That means it could be like double Simian Spirit Guide Manamorphose. Okay. We draw Talaria West. So play Temple. Play Thought Knot. Kind of sucks that our only blue source is a tapped one right now. Let's take a look at this hand. They just didn't play mana? Double Nature's Claim. I think Charbelcher is easier to interact with than the Undercity Informer line, so I'm gonna take that. I have no idea why my opponent would not play out. Okay, they drew Talisman of Resilience. We draw another not blue mana source. So play that, go to combat, attack for 4, take them to 10. The problem is my opponent's going to get a chance to actually play Belcher. Okay, they played the land they actually had. So we can repeal this, which I think gives us just enough time to beat them down with this Thought Knot. That's kind of hilarious. I'm glad I kept Repeal in the deck. Okay, Condescend not going to be useful. This also means that they can't play any more untapped lands. Balustrade Spy. Alright, I think they got us. Yep. Well, that was just an unlucky top deck for us. It had to be Balustrade Spy or Undercity Informer, which I don't know if they run 4 of each. We answered 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. It looks like my opponent just runs a 2-2 split of them. So my opponent can exile 3 artifacts from the grave, get Salvage Titan to their hand, sack 3 Swords of the Meek to cast a Salvage Titan, and hit us with 4 Vengevines for 16 damage. Yeah. Okay. I don't know why my opponent didn't play out those lands. Unless they were worried about Spreading Seas, but I would not play Spreading Seas against my opponent. Yeah, okay. Just run it back. I was very close. We'll play first. This hand does nothing for a very long time, and that's super dangerous against our opponent's deck, so I'm going to mulligan. This hand is much better. I'm going to keep, and I think I got to put back Repeal. Yeah, we'll put back Repeal. It might have been correct to put back Condescend, but I think I want a counter spell, and my opponent's deck does play Thoughtseize out of the board, which I think we saw when they revealed their grave, because I don't remember seeing Leylines, but I also didn't look very close, so I could be completely wrong. Okay, opponent plays a tap land. We draw Karn. Play Tower, pass the turn. If we play Karn, they at least can't activate Belcher. If we can get to 5 mana, we can just Karn, get Relic, and probably be safe. Okay, opponent plays another tap land. Passes. Draw Nurse is mine. Players is mine. If we can Condescend and scry ourselves into a power plant, pretty sure we win the game on the spot. Really wish I had a Grafdigger's Cage instead of a Relic in the board. Power plant is best draw, followed by second island. Okay, that is neither of those things. We could risk it and play Karn, but if my opponent has a way to cast Balustrade Spy or Undercity Informer, we lose on the spot. If my opponent taps out for Belcher, I might play Karn. Actually, no, I would definitely remand a Belcher. Or Condescend, one of the two. I guess I would probably Condescend, now that I have 3 untapped mana to go along with it. Okay, Eldrazi Temple is nice. I'm gonna wait for 1 more mana, because that way I can like play Relic and crack Relic. No, that's not safe either, because my opponent plays Nature's Claims. We saw a bunch of them. I think I have to hold up big counter spells for a while. I would really like a second blue mana here. Opponent discards Phantasmagorian. Chalice on 1 doesn't really do anything to my opponent's deck, does it? I mean, it hits their Nature's Claims. I think Thoughtseize if they're running it. If I play Chalice on 1, I can't play Relic. And I'm going to need Relic, so I'm going to just pass. I don't like this. Well, whatever their hand is right now, they don't think it can beat a single counter spell. Let's see if they can beat Thought-Knot with Remand backup. Thoughtseize, Oracle, Belcher, Memories Journey. Okay, so Chalice on 1 is actually a pretty good idea. If I take Oracle, there's no Oracle win. We have multiple redundant counterspells and redundant Karns if we get Thoughtseized. I'm gonna take Oracle here. I'm confident we can get by our opponent playing a Charbelcher. Not to mention, if they cast a Thoughtseize, I'm gonna remand that Thoughtseize. Because they won't be able to recast it. Then we can just like play Chalice on 1. Another tower. Play the tower. I'm going to play Chalice on 1, knowing what's in their hand now. Go to combat. Attack for 4. Hit them to 16. Pass the turn. I suppose I could Karn to kill my own Chalice if I was really worried. Okay. Time for a big Condescend. Relic is no good. Island kind of is, though. Okay, we untap. Draw an island. Play an island. Play Karn. Wish. Get coding. Pass the turn. Or we're going to attack, of course. Alright, opponent concedes. Cool. We're 3-0 in a much faster time frame than I thought I would be, especially with a deck that I'm not I don't have encyclopedic knowledge of. We'll just say that. Alright, round 4, here we go. Yeah, I can't keep that one. Can't really keep that one either. Alright. I mean, if Chalice lines up good with my opponent's deck, sweet. When it starts Forest, Noble Hierarch. Alright, this might be Infect. Draw a Remand. So, play Power Plant, pass the turn. Leyline of the Cat. I've played against this person recently. I don't remember what they play, or if they're even playing the same deck. Oh, this is, my opponent's deck is Spirits. They're who I played against round 5 the other day. Try and deploy a Chalice on one. My opponent probably has a Spell Queller here, though. So I don't know how we do against Spirits. I think Spirits is actually going to be a really tough matchup. Yeah, so they've made this Chalice irrelevant. Okay. If only I had known sooner. Okay, opponent plays a Drogskull Captain. I've got a feeling we need to draw Tron so we can Karn and wish for O-Stone. I don't think my opponent has... Yeah, I'm actually going to scoop it up. We might technically have another turn, but I don't want my opponent to know that I'm not Green Tron or Eldrazi Tron. Aether Eye is going to be coming in. Echoing Truth could also come in. Let's see. I'm going to check the... I'm going to check a deck list for Spirits. So, they do run Cavern, and they do run Aether Vial, which means our counter spells are actually really bad. Like, really bad. Is it possible we just, like, side most of them out and bring the Wishboard stuff in? Ugh, yeah, I think we're gonna have a bad time. I'll bring in Echoing Truth. I'll cut a Condescend, and I'll cut a Remand. We'll try like that. It's entirely possible that I should have cut a bunch of other stuff too, but Sand doesn't have enough action. Sand doesn't have a lot of great action, but I'll keep. My opponent doesn't start Aether Vial, we're probably okay. Maybe okay? I'll go with maybe. So, start Island, play map. If my opponent starts Aether Vial, I'm going to be really sad. Okay. It's a Noble Hierarch, Mausoleum Wanderer, or Aether Vial. Okay, Mausoleum Wanderer. That's bad, but not unbeatable. Play an island, pass the turn. We can cast Remand and maybe make them sack Mausoleum Wanderer, but if my opponent doesn't do anything and just leaves up like Rattle Chains mana, I will probably crack for Eldrazi Temple, so I can just play Thought-Knot Seer. Ah, yes. Okay. This will be a Thought-Knot Seer, then. If my opponent has Path, then... or a Dismember. I guess they technically could have either. Then it's a bit worse. Aether Vial. I can't remand it. We gotta go with Thought-Knot. Okay. So, untap. Draw Cavern, play Eldrazi Temple, play Thought-Knot. I think we have to hope our opponent has a bad hand and that this makes it worse. Let's see. Spell Queller, Glasspool Mimic, Collected Company. Take Queller, pass the turn. I dislike... I'm sure it's useful for some people, but I dislike how Moto reveals both halves of a card. Because if you do the, like, enlarge mouse over 1, it does show you both. But opponent attacks for 1, that's fine. Okay, I gotta restart the client, because this is, like, unbearable. Yeah, opponent can only have that copy a creature they control, so it's a Mausoleum Wanderer. Okay, we untap, we draw, repeal. Alright. Let's restart Moto. Alright, and we're back. I think we start by attacking. That much is for sure. We know our opponent's holding company, and I think that's it. One unknown. So we can either repeal Aether Vial. I think we hold up Remand, because if my opponent just casts Company, we can Remand through 2 Mausoleum Wanderers. The only way that doesn't work is if my opponent has a Spirit they can Vial in, which is possible. It's actually kind of likely, because they could have like Selfless Spirit, Rattle Chains, Supreme Phantasm, or Supreme Phantom. Skyclave Apparition. Yeah, I'll remand that. We get an Echoing Truth. Okay. Opponent attacks, sure. So, attempt to repeal Vial. Opponent is going to counter that to prevent us from drawing a card, that's fine. Draw Karn. So play Cavern, name Eldrazi. I think we have to just play Karn to give them an alternative target for Skyclave Apparition. The only thing I can wish for that I can cast is Relic, and I'm not a huge fan of that. So I'm going to get either Walking Ballista or Wormcoil Engine. We'll get Ballista. Go to combat, attack for 4. Take our opponent to 7. Opponent can no longer use Vial, but they're probably just going to cast Skyclave Apparition and take out Karn. Or not. Okay, now they can take out Karn and then they can Vial in Skyclave Apparition. That makes sense. Draw an Urza's Tower. Play Tower. Go to combat. Attack for 4. Okay, here comes the Apparition. They pump their guys. Exile Thought-Knot, which lets them draw a card. I'm going to go ahead and Dismember now. So we get a 4/4 Illusion, not Spirit. I could Echoing Truth, but my opponent would just sack a Wanderer if I targeted it. And taking out an Aether Vial is quite tempting. I think it's better to just play Ballista, though. So, play Walking Ballista, X2. I could take out a Noble Hierarch now. Yeah, I think I'm actually going to do that. Not that denying my opponent mana will do much. But the Exalted trigger could matter. Okay, opponent leaves Aether Vial on 3. They're still holding company, I think. Yep, they're still holding company. Okay, we untap. Draw Condescend. So, ping Wanderer. Okay, I want them to cast company here. Okay. We can Condescend X2. Could Echoing Truth. If they have Spell Queller, we want to Condescend X3. Actually, it would have to be X4, and we don't want to do that. So let's just Condescend X1. If they Vial in Spell Queller and hit Condescend, we can Echoing Truth Spell Queller. Another Thought-Knot Seer is kind of nice. Opponent concedes. Cool. So we would have gotten there with the Thought-Knot Seer beats. We just really have to hope our opponent doesn't have a Cavern start. Because, like, the third of our deck that happens to be counter spells would become worthless very fast. Okay. Well, it's a Tron hand. Can we win proactively? Maybe. I guess we'll find out. Opponent starts Flooded Strand and passes. So we start Tower Map. Pass the turn. Opponent gets a Hallowed Fountain tapped. Plays a Windswept Heath. Gets a Plains. Selfless Spirit. Well, so far this hand has been relatively inoffensive as far as things we're worried about. Play an Urza's Mine. We're going to go ahead and just get a Power Plant now. Pass the turn. We can either play a Walking Ballista on 3 and a Relic, or we can Thought-Knot Seer. And given my opponent leaving up only 1 mana, I think the Thought-Knot Seer is better. Okay, Obero's kind of nice as a follow-up. Let's go ahead and Thought-Knot Seer. Collected Company 3 land. Alright. We might be able to do something this game. So play Relic. Draw an extra card. play Relic. Pass the turn. Next turn, we can Echoing Truth into Thought Knot. But it plays a Temple Garden tapped. Hits us for 4. We untap. Draw Karn. Is Karn better? You'd also just play Walking Ballista on 4. But I think the Echoing Truth play is probably our strongest play. So, Echoing Truth Supreme Phantom. They do have a Spell Queller. I guess I probably should have Thought Knot Seared first. Yeah, then we're going to go ahead and just play Walking Ballista on 3. Go to combat. Attack for 4. Hit our opponent to 14. We're going to ping down the Selfless Spirit now. Okay. Exile it. Not that they would be playing like Finale of Devastation or a reason that would matter, but better safe than sorry. Okay, opponent plays Cavern on Spirit. Goes to combat, hits us for 4. Go to 9. Untap. Draw Remand. We can wish for Worm Coil. I think that's too slow. We probably have to get a second Walking Ballista. We could also just put 2 counters on Ballista. It's like we could wish for O-Stone. Coding doesn't really do anything. Well, we're playing Eldrazi Temple. That much is certain. Maybe it's better if we just get a redraw, because we could hit like Ugin. And then what is our opponent going to do? Okay, Island does not work. Play Thought Knot. They seriously have another Queller? Coco. Alright, well, I'm glad I have this Remand. That puts it back in their hand for Thought Knot to nab. It does prevent us from ticking up Walking Ballista this turn, though. Okay, go to combat. Attack for 5. And this way, if they attack with both of their creatures, we just kill them. Actually, we might be able to kill them regardless with Karn wishing for another Walking Ballista. Opponent plays an island, they have 1 more card in hand. If it's a Lord, I don't think it matters. They attack us for 3. We go to 6. Untap. Draw Academy Ruins. So, play Academy. Go to combat. Attack for 9. If they block Ballista, we just ping them and they die. They have to have something else. Otherwise, they just throw Supreme Phantom under the bus. Rattle Chains. Target spirit gains hexproof. You have 1, 2, 3, 10 mana. If I tick up Ballista twice, I can ping down Rattle Chains and then ping my opponent for 1 and force them to block. So my alternative would be to play Karn and wish for Ballista on 2. Or wish for Ballista. Yeah, wish for Ballista and put it on 2, or play a Worm Coil. Could also get an Ensnaring Bridge, but I think that's dangerous. I think we just do this. Put a counter on Ballista. Do we put another one on, or do we cast a Thought Knot? Yeah, we're going to put another one on. Put a counter on Ballista. Ping down Rattle Chains. Okay, my opponent has to block, and they have to block something that isn't Walking Ballista. Sweet! We're 4-0, which, if you asked me, would not have been my guess for how this deck was going to do. I figured I was going to 2-3 or 3-2, but we are already 4-0 with Mono Blue Tron, and I'm pretty excited about that. Alright, round 5. Here we go. This is for the potential 5-0. I mean, this looks like a pretty reasonable hand, so we'll keep. Temple Garden untapped. Arboreal Grazer. Arboreal? Field of the Dead. So this is the Uro deck. Play Power Plant, pass the turn. Condescend probably isn't going to hit anything, because my opponent's going to just have too much mana. They can probably just pay for it. Unless the ramp is part of their curve. Like if they go from 1 to 3, like 3 to 5, or whatever it is. Opponent has uncounterable Uros. Dryad of the Elysian Grove. Oh, this could also be, I guess, green-white Titan Shift. Elvish Reclaimer. Attacks for 0 to send a message. Draw a Remand. Play an island. Pass the turn. And that's right, Mono Blue Tron in the finals, baby. Opponent only has 2 cards in hand. One of them is a land. They go to combat, hit us for 2. That's fine. Without them casting spells that we can at least use to, like, remand and cantrip, we're probably going to have a bad time. Laners is mine. Pass the turn. I'm going to activate Elvish Reclaimer. Aladmary's Call. If I remand this, they have to play it on their turn. I can't condescend it. No, they don't have to. Because of the stupid Dryad. Okay, I have to let this resolve. My only hope is that they do not get another land off the top of their deck. Yeah, if my opponent didn't have Dryad of the Elysian Grove, Cavern of Souls would not have been able to recast Aladmary's Call. Oh, never mind. They just have Castle Garenbrig. They can cast it. What am I talking about? They even drew the land to make sure they can make it uncounterable. Pretty sure that means we just die. So stupid. I'm a little bit salty about that. Kind of depends on... No, never mind. They don't even have to activate Garenbrig, so it's not like they can mess this up. Our only hope is this doesn't kill us, and we draw Ugin next turn. Which means, even though this can't be countered, we want to condescend to get the maximum chance we draw Ugin. They can kill Ugin by fetching, but... Oh, you know what? We don't have Tron. I don't know why I thought we had Tron. Okay, well, concede. Because we can't beat that. Spreading Seas doesn't matter because of Dryad, so I'm going to bring in Echoing Truth, Aetherize, and I'm going to go down 2 relics, I think. Try it like that. Us being on the play might make a difference. I don't remember if we were on the play or on the draw there. We were on the draw. I've never, ever, ever in my life played this matchup, so I could not give you any real insight. We're learning on the fly right now. Alright. I don't like it. We're gonna mulligan. Alright. This might work. But back a remand. Starters is mine. Pass the turn. They play Windswept Heath. Untapped. Elvish Reclaimer. So Repeal actually would have been good here. Repeal is extremely bad versus like Arboreal Grazer, that kind of a thing. Play an island, pass the turn. Opponent plays a Flagstones, which is the whole reason they play white, so they can sack it to Elvish Reclaimer. Get another Condescend. Play Power Plant, pass the turn. I mean, if they're really scared, I'm pretty sure they run Field. So, like, they can just go get Field, and we would have a bad time. Yeah, because we basically have to draw a Karn here, and we have a lot of looks to do it. If my opponent gets Cavern and plays, like, Dryad, we have to... Like, we still have to, like, counter. Even though it would just be, like, paying a mana to scry 2. Another Flagstones. It's pretty good. So yeah, Mono Blue Tron does not do very well if you can't use your powerful counters to help get through your deck. Opponent plays a Grazer. I'm going to condescend this to either make them tap out or just let this get countered. I do want to go scrying here. This does make their mana a little bit, like, line up a little bit worse. Another power plant. I will keep a Thought Knot. Thought Knot's nice because I can keep up Condescend or Remand, as well as Thought Knot. Okay, play Tower. Play Thought Knot. Take a look at their hand. They have Eladamri's Call, Dryad, 2 lands. Take Call. Pass the turn. So they sack Flagstones. They get a Plains out of their deck. Sacred Foundry. Okay. Get to search up any land they want. Tectonic Edge. Alright. They tech edge the tower, so we'll float mana. They're probably just going to let this pass. They play Dryad. I could have condescended just to scry there and manipulate our top deck, because it's not likely that our counterspells are actually going to matter. Talisman of Dominance. So play Gemstone Caverns. Play Talisman. Pass the turn. Yeah, I think I should have condescended just to scry. Is it worth attacking here? I don't think so. My opponent has a redundant Reclaimer. They get double block to kill Thought Knot. I mean, maybe if we did that, we could kill Dryad. This is pretty powerful ramp. Just continually tutoring up Flagstones. So, Field of the Dead, they get a zombie. They shoot us in the face with Valakut. I have undoubtedly misplayed. In a couple of ways I understand, in a few ways that I'm not sure if they were misplays or not. Opponent likely just bolts down the Thought Knot here. Yeah. Okay. But I also think that our deck lines up really poorly with our opponent's deck. Primeval Titan. Can't condescend it, so I guess we remand. Draw an island. Okay. Opponent sacks a Sacred Foundry. Get a second Valakut. Alright, we go to 14. Opponent gets to draw an extra card and kill our Thought Knot. But now we're in a position where most of our creatures don't matter. I think in order to recover from this position, like, we had to draw Tower and then draw our Singleton Ugin just to reset the board, and even then my opponent would be following this up with a Primeval Titan, and they have 2 Valakuts. So I don't think there was a single thing we could have done this game that actually made a difference. Like, I could have condescended to scry that one time. I can play out a big Walking Ballista, but it just doesn't do anything. Well, we got lucky earlier in the league. We had an opponent that scooped match game 1 just because we drew and played our Singleton Ugin. But let's go ahead and open our treasure chests, and then we'll talk about the deck list a little bit. So first treasure chest, 5 play points. Skullbriar, the Walking Grave. I don't think he's worth anything. And Temet, Vizier of Noctamoon. Okay. Treasure chest number 2, 5 play points. Dark Tutelage and Ghostly Pilferer. Okay. Treasure chest number 3, 20 play points and a Clone. Not doing well today on treasure chests. Treasure chest number 4, 10 play points and a Siege Gang Commander. We're still way behind on value today. Treasure chest number 5, 20 play points and Atris, Oracle of Half-Truths. Well, let me bring up the Tron list. Okay, so I think I'm gonna look at the metagame breakdown really quick, because I think my opponent's like Amulet Titan deck actually is, yeah, no, it's played about 10 times as much as Blue Tron is. And if you look at the top decks, the top decks in the format, according to Goldfish right now, and I know it's not 100% accurate, but especially because Wizards doesn't report every deck list like they used to, so we can't get a good metagame picture. But the top decks that are finishing according to Goldfish are Uropiles, which this deck
probably has an okay matchup with. Rakdos Death Shadow, which this deck probably does not have a good matchup with unless we can play a Chalice, and my particular version would be very weak to it because we only have one in the main and one in the side, and that's not recommended. Humans, which plays Cavern and Aether Vial, which is a bad matchup. Azorius Control could be a good matchup. Force of Negation in both Uropiles and Azorius Control kind of make this deck a little bit harder, but that's why we're playing Thought-Knots and we're not playing 7-mana Karns. Stoneblade, which runs Aether Vial, and sometimes Cavern. Probably not usually on the Cavern, but Aether Vial, which makes the deck pretty bad matchup because it like completely invalidates our counter spells, which is what makes Mono Blue Tron very good. Blitz, which would go underneath everything we play, which is a kind of a bad matchup. Niv to Light, which, if we get Ugin, as this league shows, tilts the Niv to Light player and makes it a good matchup. Amulet Titan, which is a bad matchup. Oops All Spells, which is a good matchup just because it's soft to counter spells. Jund, Ponza, like in order. We've had like out of the top 10 to 12 decks, because the next one down is the white-green primetime deck, and then Spirits. So out of the top 12 decks, we have like maybe one or two, at most 3 good matchups. So we're good against 25% at best of the top 12 decks, which means I got very lucky. I think this deck is nowhere near as good as regular Green Tron. I like this deck. I just don't think it's as good. It's fun. We did good. We got lucky. And I can't really complain about that. As far as like adjustments go, definitely play the Chalices. Don't try and substitute them. You definitely want all 4 somewhere around the deck. There were times where like our counter spells were really, really bad, and we wanted like anything else out of the board. And frequently during those matchups, Spreading Seas would do nothing because my opponent is either playing blue or doesn't care that we're shutting off their lands because they're also playing Aether Vials. So Spreading Seas is also really bad. I think the list needs a major overhaul to make it more relevant. I just don't know what we could do. Because basically the whole reason to play Blue Tron is to have access to counter spells to slow your opponent down so that you can cast some game-ending threat like Karn or Thought-Knot or whatever. I legitimately have no idea what I would do with this. So if you have suggestions, if you have ideas, I'm open to listen to them. But I think Blue Tron is, without some major metagame changes, not really a deck right now. So, alright, well I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I enjoyed playing the deck. I think it was a lot of fun. And if you did, please leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe to the channel if you're so inclined. And remember, you can follow me on Twitch, same username over there as you find me on here. I stream Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And hope to see you there. Anyway, till next time, you're all wonderful human beings. Bye!